Hi, I'm Claire Deacon, and this is Building Send Futures. On this podcast, we'll be exploring what outstanding really looks like. Today, we're at Bloxham Grove Academy, and to help me unpack what outstanding really is and provision, I have Wayne Dobbins, a Director of ADP Architecture, Charlotte Roberts, Head Teacher of Bloxham Grove Academy, and Claire Hunt, Director and Landscape Architect from OOB. So welcome, everybody. And Charlotte, let's begin with you.
Okay.
So what, as a head teacher, does outstanding really mean to you? What does it look like?
I think for us it looks like us achieving our aims with what we would like to have as our end goal and our outcomes for our young people. And we talk a lot here in around what will make our children happy, what are we aiming for with them? And after lots of discussion and talking about it, we came up with this idea that there's two fundamental things that we want for our young people. One of them is to be independent adults, and the second one is to be positively contributing to the world of work. That could be part-time, full-time, volunteering, paid employment. But we recognise that happiness for our young people, and for most people really, is around that, being responsible citizens that are contributing to society in some way. And we talk very much around our curriculum and our personal development being woven together. They're really important. So we do lots of academic work, but we also do loads more around personal development and preparation for adulthood. We make sure we take our children outside of school as much as we can. And every time we go to a different place, a different setting, we talk to the people that work there. How did you get this job? What's interesting about your job? Opening our children's eyes up to the possibilities that are in the local area. And we also do work experience placements. And what we've recognised is for our young people, we have to do it in a really staggered way. You can't just take them out into the world and say, there you go and work in that cafe. So we do it in a staggered way, and we talk about the first element of work experience for us is ensuring our children work in a familiar environment with familiar adults. The next step would then be to go out and or have people come in school so that there's a familiar setting, unfamiliar adults. Before then we do the third wave, which is to go outside of school where you've got unfamiliar adults in an unfamiliar setting. And we use the environment and we use the building very much to support that. So we talk a lot about our beautiful cooking room. And our children that are doing hospitality will cook in the cooking room, and then they will serve the adults that they know in school. So, for example, every Wednesday we have panini day. So you can order and pay for a panini that's made for by the sixth formers who then serve it in our BGA cafe. And then some of our young people have then gone on to work in the lunch hall here. So they work for our independent lunch company. So they're working for an employer that's not us, but they're in school. And then they'll go out and do some hospitality outside of school. So we also have our hub that was originally built as a construction room. So when the building was designed, and I think we're talking many years ago now when we first did the design, we took our understanding of what we needed for a construction hub. And Natasha, who runs the sixth form, she's looked at it and said, the cohort of learners we've got are not children that want to be carpenters or bricklayers, and that's what the building was originally designed for. What they're going to do is possibly work in hospitality and shops. So she's literally set up a shop in there. So at break time, the younger children can line up and use real money to buy real food in their tuck shop. And the older children are serving them. So we're doing a double whammy there, really. The younger children are learning about how to use money in a real life situation, and the older children are learning about how to run a shop. Outstanding for us is our children leave here being able to be employed, to have all of the skills, the transferable skills they've got, that they need to do that. And along the way, they've had all these experiences of work. And to be able to do that really well, we need to understand their send really carefully and make sure that all of the lessons are using maths and English in a real life sense. And it's about those life skills that are really, really important for our young people.
Is that becoming outstanding wherever in lots of different SEND schools now? Or is it something that's just really starting to take off?
I think there's a real sense that children with SEND can work And we don't need to wrap them in cotton wool and look at schools as though we're just doing something different with them. We have high expectations of the academic progress our children can make, but we do it in a very different way. So we don't sit GCSEs, but we do sit accreditation. So our children will leave here with a vast amount of certifications for things like maths and science and English and all of the different options that they can do. The preparation for adulthood and the personal development is woven into the academic things that we do here. Really, really important for our young people to have that holistic approach to their education. They're learning about how to be proud of themselves as individual learners and having a sense of self-awareness and confidence, and they can then take that into having employability skills.
Brilliant. And I guess the design of the building and the outside space as well has a huge impact on the ability to be.
Oh, absolutely. We've talked a lot about the inside of the building, but the outside of the building is just as important. We do OPAL as well, which is outdoor play and learning, which is a fundamental part of our provision here. It's where children get to interact with each other and have the social skills and the etiquette and the understanding of expected behaviours, which they don't always have. They can often feel isolated socially before they come here. And I think there's something really fundamental for any young person to learn outside in nature. And I mean, look at where we are. It's fantastic, isn't
For
it?
well-being, I think it's good for everybody, isn't
Yeah,
it?
just for everybody having that sense
Yeah.
of time outside. But you look at our beautiful landscaped gardens here in our outdoor spaces, and then you look up and you see fields upon fields, and it's just exceptional provision that we've got here for young people.
I have to say, coming in as the landscape designer who worked on this project, it's so wonderful to hear that that original design concept we had of creating these areas in the landscape that are genuinely going to support the learning of the children. So it's not all about, the day isn't all full of learning and academia. It's about getting outside. It's about exploring who you are as a person, how you communicate, how you deal with conflict resolution in a social group. And the way that we designed it was in terms of these layers. So as you come directly out of the classroom, there's more of a kind of secure kind of feeling, so that the pupils are supported in the kind of education needs of that space. But as we go out into the wider site, there's more space to kind of be a bit freer, and there's some games that can happen, but there's also sensory gardens, and you've got the formal sports, but they're not front and centre of the landscape design here. It's very much about the individual needs of the pupils and the curriculum and supporting what sounds like a really wonderful experience in terms of getting out to work as well.
And is that what is the trend in landscape architecture for SEND at the moment? Is that the way it's going? What does outstanding
what
look
does outstanding? I don't know that question. It's certainly when I approach my design work, it's all about the being a human being and needing space and green and fresh air and being able to see the sky and connecting with who you are inside. And sometimes that can't really happen in a busy school environment. So it's about providing that additional extra bit of space, and maybe challenging sometimes whether do we really need that much tarmac? Can we offset and balance some things with some softer
We get quite a range of
environment?
sites as well, don't we? So, in a city London site on very small plots with hardly any space, rooftop.
Yeah, we have done rooftops before.
Flexibility as well, so the spaces can be many things.
Exactly, that's really important. But you are so lucky here with what you've got in terms of the surroundings and the landscape. It's very quiet and peaceful generally, so we were at a slight advantage with this one. But
There's so many wonderful features of the landscape. There's very few straight lines here. You've got the lovely wiggly path that looks like it's leading off to the sensory garden that goes around here. And there's a lot of grass area as well. And in the summer, it's so lovely to go out and sit and just relax and have your lunch outside, to be picnic in the summer months. This is exactly what we want to be doing, this sense of community and eating together, because that's important.
that's important too. And this is so wonderful to hear, because actually what we're trying to do isn't anything that difficult. It's about being together, it's about being outside, it's about being in comfort. And then you feel supported and secure to take that next step and build that confidence into something, another area in your life that you might be finding a challenge. So having that safe space here is important. And actually we did do a lot of work, I think, about the journey around the school and how that takes the cognitive load off of the pupil, so that they're familiar in their surroundings, they know where they're going, they know where they're heading. It becomes a really ingrained part of their day, so they're not thinking about that, they're just, coming out and enjoying the space.
Predictability
Yeah.
is is hugely important here, right?
Yeah, and down to at the end of Opal, we say Opal time's finished, and because a lot of our children have PDA, so we're very careful around the language we use. We use lots of declaratives, so we'll make a statement. We'll say Opal's over. There's low demand on that because we've put into the routines and the predictability of, oh, when that's said, you line up here ready to go round the building into the lunch hall. So those systems and processes are really important, but you have to have the space to be able to do that. But I think thinking about the space we've got, we've used it really well. It's been really well designed. But I'm aware of another school in the Trust that's a city school that the leaders have come over here and looked at how we do things and thought, right, we've got about 1/10 of your space and it pretty much is all tarmac. What can we be doing to bring some of the learning we've had here into this much smaller plot? Because I think we're really lucky here. You know, we've got a lot of space. And it's around how we use that.
What learning did they take away? What could they, roll out at that?
Yeah.
In a city school, that is so much smaller.
2 things. One was lots and lots of plants, as much greenery as possible. And the other one is around different areas. So different areas of interest. How can we make pockets of interest, more sensory, more, let's
Tactile,
go and
textures.
explore that space.
Yeah. And Wayne, from a design point of view, what does outstanding provision within special needs look like for an architect when the goal is capacity, agency, belonging, and not just safety and compliance?
I guess I think simply is we're just trying to enable you to do your daily, live your life, inhabit this building, and do your daily routines as well as you can. I think so. It's again talking about how we maybe worked with you to understand the daily process of how children might regulate themselves from the classroom to use of the outside space to then reintegrating them back into the class. And so, trying to make those processes easier, things about how we take space from some areas to give back in others. So a bit like we've used the corridor space to create a cafe. And
has that become something of the norm now for you? Do you incorporate those elements within your SEND designs?
Yeah, so this school's based very much around the ethos of the Trust. And so it's us listening to what their needs were and then trying to enable that to, enable you to fulfill how you want to teach in that way. And so
it does depend on the Trust and
I think it's really important to have that. If you don't have it, then you don't get that buy-in.
Do you feel more limited in what you're able to design if there's not that engagement?
I think you will build it. There's quite good guidance on what a standard SEN school layout might look like, but it's how you then maybe, we adapt and work that with the trusts and schools we engage with. So there are differences across a lot of schools in how people cut and carve the space you've got. There's set sizes for classrooms, but can we, like I say, we've created a cafe space, we created a construction hub. You're actually using it in a different way, but that's supporting those students that want to use that space. So there's flexibility in it. So I think a lot of it is also, flexibility, adaptability. The cohorts will change. They don't all look the same. They don't have the same kind of challenges, and that that's always going to evolve. So allowing that to happen on the building framework is a key thing.
And you do that mainly through the flexibility of the spaces?
I think, so flexibility is
key.
The way, because we're at the end of the day, we're building bricks and mortar, or as a structure. It's the adaptability is in how you maybe reuse that space or connectivity. You can make choices that support how the trust or the school want to teach.
How do you take the best practice and make sure it's they're in place for SEND children in whatever building?
We've shown a couple of council clients around this school, so I guess that's building visits, showing people what you've done, how things could work,
learning from the best,
and equally going to see other schools and seeing what others have done. And so that's always a good way. You can do that through precedents as well, just showing images, but it's always great to get a sense of the space and how it works, and feedback from the people who use the space as well.
And do you feel there is that level of understanding from doing the tours, and Charlotte, you opening your doors to people to come round and show them Do you feel like it's getting better, that the provisions are becoming more outstanding through lessons like that?
I think the more people that come and see the school and how we use it and even if they take a couple of things from what we do into their own practice, I think it's really important, whether it's in existing buildings or for when they're thinking about new buildings. We see that as really, really important, because we are able to do things very differently here than other schools because of the infrastructure of the building. And I think that's very much down to those very initial stages of talking to the trust. You've really listened to that and thought, right, this is a trust that don't permanently exclude or suspend their children, that want to keep them integrated into the class community as much as possible, hence the study dens that are linked to each classroom downstairs and the space outside of each individual classroom downstairs. So if children need fresh air, get out, they're, like you said earlier, within the eye of the teachers. And that infrastructure has allowed us to use the restorative and relational practice that's really important to the Gallery Trust. And something I've continued here because we're the first school in the trust to have opened from scratch, which is really important.
Yeah.
When we look at the longevity of the trust and how the schools are aligned in terms of those key values that you picked up on from the very beginning.
But I think from certainly my experience of working on this school, and I do come back to this one quite a lot, you know, even all these years later, as to what I learned. And I think fundamentally for me, being part of the design team from the very beginning, we were able to shape the school in terms of just the arrival sequence, where the parking goes. Is it comfortable to go from from the school gate to the, you know, all of those kind of really fundamental, important parts of the school have to be right. And then you can start layering up the flexibility and the use, you know, the kind of the other stuff. And I do remember one conversation we had in the meetings about navigation around the school and how you were using kind of markers within the landscape to kind of navigate around. And that's genuinely something that stayed with me throughout my career. And I bring that into other schools I work on now. So the use of colour sometimes to kind of navigate, because that's easier to read than words, you know, and take directions.
Something as simple as where the children get out their taxis has such an impact because it's the start of their school day. And we're able to use your design to have a real systematic, predictable start to the day. It's really simple. The taxis come round and we let the first 4 or the first 6 taxis open their doors and the children come through the gates and into the school, and then the taxis move. Really, really simple. It doesn't sound much, but what it does is that safety of 30 plus taxis in the morning that could all be moving around and children moving around, we can clearly use that space. They come round, 6 open their doors, in the gates, right, no one else out, 6 moves forward, and then the next 6. It just means that as leaders, we can be doing the checking ins, not, wait a second, taxis are moving. It just feels so calm, and that sets them up for the day. That flow, that, fluidity
Calmness
to the day.
and the ability to self-regulate.
Absolutely.
And whilst we might have spent hours in meetings at the beginning of the project talking about that, you can see the value in that now, because actually it means that, you know, from day one, that's set and it's a system that just works for you.
Yep.
So that conversation and really understanding the school's needs does lead to
really
outstanding
important
design, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And how do you do that with landscape if you are on such a tight site?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question. Obviously, we have quite a lot of constraints when we're approaching these schemes. So there's a lot that, takes the area up. Again, I just have to come back to it's the school's site. So we really have to understand what that particular client needs. So it's about just being open and listening and then kind of coming up with some creative solutions as to how we can get all of these layers to work together. Sometimes it takes a while to
Do you
figure
see
out.
that more people, trusts, clients, local authorities are moving towards this, you know, the self-regulation and the flexible space, and that's becoming a trend? That's becoming what outstanding is kind of looking like.
It's like I say, it's quite an odd thing, because we as landscape architects talk about this stuff quite a lot. Like that's our role really, is to you have some green, go outside and enjoy yourselves. And we're bringing ecology into this as well, the biodiversity net gain. So making sure that all these strands are coming together. So I'm delighted, to be honest, that it's now a mainstream conversation that we're having.
So from a landscape point of view, as well as building point of view, what is the best practice designs for self-regulation? Obviously familiarity and wayfinding.
big spaces can be really daunting.
Yeah.
Sure.
And making areas, like I said earlier, about areas of curiosity are really important for our
Yeah.
young people, because they will want to go and explore and get hands on things. And our children really like getting muddy and dirty. With Opal, we say, whatever the weather, you're out, get your wellies on, and they really enjoy that. So that's something I would say is really important for regulation. Not these big spaces sometimes. Sometimes it's good to have those big spaces, but others, they like the sensory garden because they feel like it's a bit of a hug.
It's really the psychology of being a person. Again, I don't like sitting with a big empty open space to my back. Like, that's not comfortable.
No.
And if I'm feeling that, it's going to be exacerbated in this environment. So
Absolutely.
it is, breaking down those spaces is super important. And sometimes, the challenges of the schools are they are big, wide open sites. So actually looking at how we can break those up within the budgets that we get that are quite tough sometimes, and actually trying to prioritise that the end result is a school that works and is a pleasant place to be. Like, that's what we're aiming for.
Wayne, how do you, because we're in a new build school at the moment, which is fantastic, how do you manage the design if it's a refurb? How do you manage that wayfinding and that journey and the self-regulation? Because that must be a lot more challenging.
I guess you try to go through a similar process at the end of the day, but I guess you've got to work with the space you're given. So like here, with obviously a greenfield site, we could use the space. It depends what you're converting it from, but a lot of the times, I guess, when we have done conversions where we've converted an old school into a primary. So again, some of the sizes is quite often the issue, but usually the class spaces are smaller in an SEN anyway. So,
and how do you create, just moving on from that slightly, how do you create SEN provision within a mainstream school that's looking to expand the SEN provision, and that's to landscape as well? Because that must be quite challenging.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly additions of SEN hubs onto new schools, but I guess that's the way. I think working with a few councils are looking at how they can expand existing provision and add on a hub to a school that's in existence, and that part of that is about trying to work with the space you've got there. So how can we do it? Can we either carve out some space from the building internally to re-provision that space, or can we extend and add on a kind of a unit to support it? But then I guess it's how you want that hub to be part of the school as well. So
we do a fair bit of outreach from school, and when we go to especially a mainstream secondary that's really big, we can see the difference between where a hub is in the centre of a school and feels part of the school community, and where it's very separate. So I would say one of the challenges would be to design something that brings the children into the provision that they need whilst feeling part of the community, and that must be a really big challenge, I think.
So when I have worked on individual SEND blocks going into mainstream schools, it has felt like the landscape tries to blend the two together somehow, and it is a challenge, and again, back to this management and talking to the school as in, like, well, what do you want? Like, how can we make it? Is this part of the school fabric? And this is, that's what, is there segregation? Do you want that? Or do you want it to blend? Or do you want shared play times? Or is that possible? So there's so many questions we have to ask, kind of really unpick what the crux of the issues might be and try to respond to those like individual design issues, really.
I think it's a huge challenge of having a hub in a mainstream school. I really do. And I can see why the infrastructure and the landscaping could be used to enhance that sense of this is where I belong. Because the message coming out from some places that have the hub is we're so separate, we're not part of the main school. And then it raises the question of, well, why are you there then? What's the reason for you being there if you're not part of the school and having a sense of belonging?
Yeah, I think integrating in is ideal, but it's getting that to work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlotte, what does outstanding mean for your staff?
It means being able to do their job the best that they possibly can. Our staff members are highly dedicated. They come in every day with a sense of, I want to do the very best for the young people in my care. And what we try and do here is give them the mechanisms and support to do that. So we have distributed leadership across the school. So we empower our people, whoever they are in the school, to be able to make decisions around the care of young people. And we don't make distinctions between types of roles that they're doing in schools. So our teaching assistants are just as important as our teachers with having a voice about the young people. They're with them all the time. They know them really well. So it's just giving them the sense of how they would use the space in a way to support children with their needs that they know really well. But it's also around giving the staff the opportunity to step away from the busyness of the school. That's really important. And we do say that it's challenging working here. We're busy all the time. We're all cogs that are working together. And so you do need, if you've got non-contact time, stepping away from the children and having that time. There's a non-contact rest place and a non-contact workspace, and that really works for our staff. And I think as well, it's around giving them a really lovely place to come every day, where the culture and the ethos is very much around a family. I talked before about all using first name basis, and that was a change we made last year. And it's just been phenomenally positive. It has really changed the closeness and the family feel and the sense of belonging without taking away the respect. And it's commented on when people come around and they see me with the children or with the other members of staff, how it's just really authentic and relaxed. And I think that leads to a relaxed place to come and work.
It's about establishing a community, isn't it? A place of safety, a place where people can feel regulated, both staff and the children as well.
I mean, it can be very emotional to work here, and we need to take a step back sometimes. So we do have a culture. If we're in a situation with a young person, we might need to step away. We might be the problem at that time, and that's really difficult for an adult to hear. But we have language, we have scripts where we will say, support's available, which means you're going, you're too involved, you're off, I'm here now, whoever that is. And people say it to me as well, and I know that if I hear that phrase, support's available, I'm off, because they've recognised that I'm emotionally not able to regulate myself to be the right person in that situation. So it's around us all working together and getting to know what are triggers for all of us and what works for us as well.
And did you see that happening at the other schools you worked at, so mainstream and SEN provision?
The difficulty I have with mainstream is that there are too many, if this happens, then this is going to happen. And there aren't any nuances or understanding in some places that I've worked. And I think that's not because people in mainstream want to get it wrong, but there seems to be a sense of we need something visually happening as a sanction because this misbehaviour has happened. And what we're able to do differently is to be able to say to everybody, we work in a restorative way. Detentions don't work, sanctions don't work. What we do is much, much harder. And it's about taking the time and talking through what harm's been caused and how we're going to repair that harm, rather than just saying, right, you've got a detention for that, without really unpicking with the young person what's happened so that it doesn't happen again. And that's a long piece of work you've got to do. It's not easy. And restorative approaches isn't about just being all cuddly and warm and fuzzy. It's about being pleasant and being kind and being highly, highly boundaried. And it goes back again to this building allows us to do the things we want to do because of the areas in the school that you've listened to. When we talked about that from the very beginning, we are able to take the time to take children outside of their classroom and have those restorative conversations with them. And I think looking at other places I've worked, if you haven't got that space, it's really difficult, it's really tricky. And it's really, really tricky if you've got 30 children. We're able to make deliberate choices about how we do things here because of the spaces we've got. It always comes back to that. If we were in a different building, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we want to do.
Sure. And Wayne and Claire, how does that restorative approach, how does that impact your designs?
A lot of the way we organise the plan in this building has come out of those conversations about how they want to work. The other things are probably things like what do you want to teach in terms of extra curricular or vocational subjects, and how can we help that happen? And that's, I say that's evolved. We've taken space from some areas to give it to others. And I think you can be smart with how you use the guidance in terms of areas, but that's all stuff we talk through, agree, and kind of map out. I think siting is obviously siting our building to make the best use of the available space as well. So there were kind of different versions where we tried to look at how we best got the drop-offs to work, as well as getting those connections to outside space. So I think there's all of that just comes through a clear dialogue both ways.
And for me, it was that picking up that point about the emotional intelligence that happens in the building, because quite often that's overlooked in a design review or a scheme, and the importance of actually having the time and space to give the attention to the issue at hand, and having somewhere outside to go and explore that and just take yourself out of the situation, let everything calm down, and then come back to repair or explore why that happened and what the behaviour was, what was the trigger that happened there, why did so you're not coming at it from an authoritative point of view. And sometimes when we have these conversations in the early design stages, that bit can get missed out. And so it's important to come back to these schools, do some post-occupancy evaluation, and really understand how crucial that is for your school day. Yeah, it's unseen. You can't put that on a plan, really.
No.
And so we have to have these conversations and bring that in.
And we know that our children will not really talk if we were sat like this. They don't want to talk. So we've got a great cooking room. Let's go and do some one-to-one cooking. Let's make a cake together. We're talking. Let's go for a walk. Let's go and sit in the sensory garden. Let's go, why don't we go and smell the flowers? I think we've got some new flowers that have come up in the sensory. Should we go and have a look? Let's go on a bug hunt. All of these things we do, that we're working alongside children, and what we're really doing is finding out what's going on.
It's facilitating that conversation that you can't have face to face.
Yeah,
because actually that is quite a threatening position, isn't it? Face to face.
But
Nobody likes that. So sitting side by side, going for a walk, pointing things out. So it's all about mindfulness, isn't it? Pointing things, just calming everything down.
What about outstanding in the terms of, because we've spoken a lot about the children and young adults and your team, the staff. What about the parents?
Yeah, it's got to be a space for parents to feel comfortable coming into. And they've often felt kind of alienated in the school environment for several reasons. So we just make sure that it's as accessible and open as it possibly can be for all our families. And we have parents' evenings that are very different in terms of them coming in and just enjoying being in the space, and making sure that Stir, who do our food, they're available and they cook for us, so we can have family eating in the dining room, and we have the doors open so there's a lot of flow, and it's really special. We really enjoy spending time with our families. It's something we all look forward to. It's not a dreaded parents' evening. It's, oh great, we're opening up. What are we going to be cooking? What are we doing? What theme are we going to do?
And it imbues people with a sense of pride as well about their environment.
Parents are proud of where their children come to school. They have a real sense of community. And we were talking a lot about play dates and time for children to be together. Well, they're only going to really do that if parents know each other and make connections. And I'm not going to give out other people's phone numbers. Well, this is a good person to connect to. But here, when we've got the parents' evening, that we do activities that facilitate them talking to each other. And then we kind of stem back and allow them to build those relationships.
I think that's really interesting. I think it's great. And I think it just reinforces what we've been talking about, that community, self-regulation. It's just so important, isn't it? And that's what outstanding is. It's choice.
And I think outstanding is going beyond and being brave to go beyond exam results and accreditation, and thinking what is true achievement for young people. And so what we think about here is, like, what job would you like to do? Let's explore that. Let's really delve into your aspirations and interests and think, what skills do you need to do that? And what are you going to do when you leave here? That's the real outstanding bit, I think.
Because I think that's, at the end of the day, what we all want as parents is for your child to be happy in whatever they choose to do, and giving them the opportunity as, provisions such as Blocks and Grove is just fantastic, isn't it? It's really trying to find out what people are good at, what people are happy at.
Absolutely. And we get so many parents that say to us, I'm really scared, Charlotte, I'm scared for their future because I know they're going to be okay here, but what happens at the end? Are they going to be living with me forever? Are they going to be able to work? Are they going to have a great time here but then be in their bedrooms? And I'm like, Absolutely not. We will have failed if that is the outcome. Our outcome is we support the young people, encourage them to be, fulfilled individuals. And I know that sounds a big task, but actually there's so many things you just get right along the way. And then you've got somebody who knows what they want to do and has the skills and the accreditation to go ahead and get it. That is an outstanding provision, I would say.
Yeah. What would be your advice to perhaps someone who's incoming head teacher of another provision? If you said if you were going to do one thing to make your school outstanding, what would it be?
It's got to start with culture and ethos. It's got to start with a sense of community, and getting positive behaviour right. Having that culture of we're all in this together. This is going to be good. And I'd say as well, have fun. It is amazing being a head teacher. I love it. I really do. You just have fun every day. Kids are amazing, and they're just so lively and vibrant, and they're never quiet. They are always asking curious questions. They're inquisitive, and I just love it. I think that's just enjoy your job if you're going to be a head teacher, because it's the best job in the world.
Wayne, how about you, for an architect who's looking to design an outstanding provision? What advice would you give them?
I'd much rather someone comes into the building and it works for them and actually allows them to do what they want to do in the building personally. If it wins an award, great. But I think I'd rather come in, see you and see you're happy with the space, then I've done my job right. That's the way I would look at it.
It's about communication, isn't it? With the team, with the client, to get that.
And
to make
we
your
should have
life
fun
easier
as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
So we should have fun doing it. So kind of, if we're having a bit of fun, it might make it a bit more fun for those coming into the building. So.
Yeah.
And Claire, for someone out designing an outside space?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I'm also really enjoying my job. I love it because we are those people who do create that fun and that play outside, and we're bringing nature in, and we're doing sketches with the kids, and we're drawing things, and we're bringing in the trees and the birds and all of that nature. And I just absolutely love it. And I think you're right, Wayne. It's the awards are nice, but actually the stories that you've told us today has just really filled my heart up. And knowing that the decisions that we've made along the way, and there were some tough, meetings that we had to try and protect what is actually been built. And just seeing how important that is for us to stand up for our designs and how we want to represent you and the trust and how the school works. So taking that forward is definitely just kind of be bold and be brave in our decision making, and just,
Thank you, everybody, for your time today. As Claire said, it was an uplifting conversation, so insightful. And I think the main takeaway is have fun, love what you do, and that'll transfer into the projects and for the experience the children have. If the conversation resonated, please keep it going. Please like, share, comment, and we'll see you for the next one. Thank you.